right, what is going on, wheelers? Welcome to the Lightbars and Lockers podcast, the Jeep podcast where we talk about badass builds, answer your questions, and discuss ways to beef up your ride. I'm Paul with JeepBeef. It's always got Ryan with Combat Off-Road. Special guest tonight, we've got Tom G from the SEMA show. How goes it, gentlemen?
Awesome.
All right, good stuff.
It's good, man.
Popping in. Chrissy says, you know where I'm from. I know where she's from, but I'm not allowed to say it. People stalk her. No, I'm just kidding. Awesome. All right, good stuff. Well, to get started, for those of you who don't know, the SEMA show, and I wrote something down here just so I wouldn't forget because, you know, it's the SEMA show. Pretty big deal. So the SEMA show offers an attendee experience like no other trade show on the planet. It's the only place where you can see thousands of product innovations from 1,300 new and iconic exhibitors, experience the latest products and custom vehicle trends, get access to 70 plus free, professional, skill-enhancing, educational sessions, and make career-changing connections with peers, leaders, and celebrities in the industry. It is the most anticipated in-person networking event anywhere in the automotive industry. And I totally stole that right from their website. And Tom is here to tell us more about it. Tom, tell us about the SEMA show.
Yeah, so I can translate that. It's really just everything performance automotive. And we like to think of it as an incubator of ideas where all the ideas that kind of crop up through the industry are vetted in the marketplace. And our show is a great place to see product innovation that's in its newest state as a prototype, newly developed, and then you've got these long-term products that have just been around for a long, long time that have kind of ruled the marketplace. So it's cool to see all that different development stages happening really everywhere you look. When you guys have been, but when you're at the show, there's so much to see and take in, from the cars to the booths to the products and the new product showcase, that it really is just this ultimate setting for performance automotive, really in any part of it.
Yeah, it really is. And so this was my first time. This past year was my first time at the show, and it really is it's like a dream. I mean, seriously, if you like cars. And it doesn't matter whether it's sports cars, tuner cars, off-road, whether it's specifically Jeeps. This year, clearly the year of the Bronco. We'll circle back on that. But regardless of what it is an amazing spectacle. Like, you just can't absorb it all. It's so huge. It's so amazing. It really is. It really is amazing. It's crazy. Yeah, we had a great time. I know that. We burned some calories. Now, Ryan asked you, but how I mean, I can only imagine what and maybe we'll talk about that, but what your day looks like when you're running the show.
Yeah, so it goes in stages. While we're moving the show in, it's one version of that. And then really once the show opens, the stress level goes down, and you would think just the opposite. But putting everything together and building the environment, for me, is the stressful part. And then our manufacturers sort of take over, and they're the ones that really have the show for the 4 days. And then we get into doing our SEMA cruise and our consumer event, SEMA Ignited, and the level of, call it stress, kind of picks up again near the end of the week. So it ebbs and flows, but you guys were talking about walking around, and I'm in the 100-mile club every year. And there's years where I've done 130 miles in the 18 days that I've been at the show. So
that's insane.
Sometimes you like technology, sometimes you don't. My watch keeps track of that stuff. So at the end of the week, I'm like, oh my God, I really walked a lot.
That's insane,
you probably got to get a new watch after too. Probably just burnt it out.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
But the coolest thing about the show, though, is, we talk about all this stuff that's in and around it. And the story behind the story is so many people are working through the year or multiple years in order to get there. And I know Ryan's company, just having a booth at the show was you said in your podcast during our show, it was a 6-year process just to get there.
Totally.
Some of these builds are 5 and 6 years. Multiple. Everybody is really focused on it, and that's the coolest thing is seeing it all come together, and watching how people react to all the different things that have been being worked on for so long.
Totally. Yeah, it's a feather in your cap, you know what I mean? Like you got there, like you're there, and then just getting like real feedback, you know what I mean? Like for people who live and breathe it or sell it, like different people, like in my other business, like I said, like the Off-Road Addiction, the guy that sees Jeep customers every day for the last 15, 20 years, 5 years, 3 years, and he's like, oh, I like that product, or like what if you did this? Like it's got, as long as you're open to those types of inputs, you know what I mean? It's really valuable, I find. And I just a dream just to go, man. Like, I mean, if anyone's listening, you have your own shop, or, you're looking to sell automotive aftermarket parts. I mean, this is a show to throw it on your Visa card, make the trip down, and just go as a buyer. You know what I mean? You'll and make sure you go. People say, oh, I'm going to go for 2 or 3 days. Like if you can go the whole time, go, because you can't even see the whole show in the whole time you're there. You know what I mean? So I would, pro tip for me as a buyer for a million years, I would have just I'd pick what hall has the stuff that makes you money. Make sure you talk to those people, and then save yourself a day or two if you can to do the fun stuff and try the test tracks and, do all those awesome extra things that are available. And then as a manufacturer, I took my shoes off most of the time standing in the booth. You know what I mean? I walked in my booth and hung out with people. I basically had no shoes on, so I looked about 2 inches shorter.
You took the heels off.
Yeah,
they're super uncomfortable.
But Ryan, you touch on something that really is the heart and soul of why we do it. It's a business proposition, and you can't forget that, because there are so many things to see and look at. But at the end of the day, as an industry buyer, you're going there to figure out what you're going to carry in your store and what people are going to want 18 months down the road. And as a manufacturer, you really have to focus on the business aspect of it, because it is going to help you down the road make more orders and sell more parts. And I like to think of it as the show is this finite amount of conversations that you can have. Mm-hmm. And if you have a conversation that takes 5 minutes, in the 31 hours the show's open, you can have 372 conversations. So you really, when you think of it like that, you're like, okay, how many 5-minute conversations do I want to spend talking about stuff I already know versus a 5-minute conversation talking about stuff I don't know yet and I'm going to learn, So when you put it in that perspective, will this 5-minute conversation help my business, or does this 5-minute conversation not help my business?
Yeah.
And that's something that a lot of times people forget, because you go in there without a plan. But if you go in there with a plan and you want to maximize it, it can really pay some dividends.
Oh yeah, I believe it. Yeah, true testament to that. Like, just making those friendships or those connections with those sales reps, or like someone that just goes, hey man, like this is why our product is better. You know what I mean? And then you're taking it from the horse's mouth, and then you can bring that back to your business and go, well, this is why this is $68 more or $200 more, or, this is why I seen this. I saw a cutaway. I talked to the guy that designed it. All those really cool things. Right. And then, or you just got along with him, be like, hey, this guy has a good story, and, he really cares about his products. They must be pretty good. I mean, it could be a stretch, but, there's lots of really neat things about it that you won't get, on the internet or even over a phone call. You know what I mean? So, and I think it's good for you if you can to escape. Like my first few years in automotive, like our business, like I lived in the store. I didn't have any money. So for me to go to
like
SEMA
literally lived in the store.
Yeah,
so
I lived in there for a bunch of years.
Listening. Yeah, he's not being like rhetorical. He literally lived in the store and has some great stories. I can test that.
Yeah, it was a great time. But to get to SEMA was impossible. Like even it took me like 3 years to get to a Keystone Big Show. You know what I mean? That's a lot more easily attainable. But it's well worth it. I wish I could have found a way to invest it right away. But I love the SEMA show.
Carmen thinks you're funny.
Oh, yeah.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah, no, and it's such a great place to network too, and I think it,
Oh, yeah.
because there's both sides, right? I mean, you've got the
YouTubers
like
too, right? We met a lot of really cool
a lot of
media
influencers,
personalities and fun
absolutely,
stuff,
yeah,
like really great people that we wouldn't have met, like really, right? You wouldn't have never, you just have that concentration of all these different people, footsteps away from you, right? So it's super cool.
like your buddy Ian, he's text bombing Ian Johnson.
Ian Johnson, where are you? He's supposed to go on the show. He keeps like putting it off. I'm gonna crush his nuts.
Yeah, it was hilarious. But I mean, either side, whether you are B2B, B2C, attending. So I went. In the position from the JeepBeef side of things is definitely more the B2C side of things, right? So I went down obviously with Combat, and while they were having those 5-minute conversations and taking their shoes off, I was living the easy life, cruising around, staring at cars and and the like. But the 5-minute conversations that I had there were amazing. The connections just in such a short period of time, because everybody is there. It's amazing. And speaking of that, how did you find the 2021 show versus previous shows, like in terms of challenges? Obviously things were different than previously,
Yeah, I have to tell you, I've been doing this for a while, probably 24, 25 years, just automotive events in general.
Okay.
And this was, I think, my 10th SEMA show. But it was hands down the hardest event I've ever been part of producing. And part of it was just because there was so much uncertainty.
Right.
And we had this drive to make the environment the best that we possibly could. So normally you get your floor plan set, and we're going to do what we call our space draw, where everybody picks their locations here in the month of May.
Put a good word in for me, Tom. I want a nice spot.
Yeah,
I gotta
if you run into problems, just ask for Tom G, and I'll be in the room when you're picking.
We're friends. I'm gonna take a snapshot of us in the picture right now. That's my card.
I know that guy.
Yes, you were friends.
He's a big deal, right?
Yeah, he's a big deal.
And then you'll find out that I was just joking about that. But,
who's Tom G?
We fired that guy 2 years ago. Fuck.
But we get normally like the floor plan set, and you just keep adding and building. And this year we got to a place where we were redrawing it over and over and over and over again, because we wanted to make it look and feel right. So as some companies had decided, because of COVID, they couldn't come, or supply chain issues, I didn't want to have an empty spot on the floor. So we just kept massaging things and moving things around. And I'd say there was a handful of us, and then other people supported it, but we changed our floor plan pretty much every day from September 1st until October 15th. And that's unheard of.
Wow.
For me, it's being able to work with people who have that much passion and wanting to make it look and feel at the level that people expect, because we just had a 5-minute conversation talking about the magic that happens at the show and the one-of-a-kind vehicles you're going to see. So it's easy for us as a trade association to just put that passion into building this environment that people are going to really thrive in. So it was all worth it, but I'm hoping we don't have to do that anytime in the near future.
No kidding.
I'm curious.
I feel great though. Sorry, Paul. Yeah, I thought like the show felt like I went to the show multiple times before, and it had all of the same vibes. You know what I mean? And like I said, we were in the new hall, which is really cool. I did like the extra like whited aisles and stuff. Like it was pretty neat, and it was really bright. I liked that hall for sure.
No, that's what we were going for, Ryan. We were trying to make it so the feel was like it always is.
Mm-hmm.
And that being my first time, I thought it was fantastic. I didn't realize that it was different even than previous years. But let's talk about the new hall then. So in 2021, you added a new hall. Was it specifically for off-road or?
Yeah. So what we did is the convention center built this new hall, and they did it during COVID. So somehow construction in Las Vegas was able to keep going where everybody else was kind of asked to sequester or stay at their house. All this construction happened. So they finished that on time, and we were the first full facility show to happen in Las Vegas. So we got to use the hall, but we took the rest of the buildings and said, okay, well, what can we do to realign some of the sections? So we took the truck and off-road hall from Upper South, which was kind of on the south side of campus, and moved it to West Hall. And we took the restyling section from the North Hall and put the two together, because when you think of restyling, that can be truck-oriented products, and then having the two together really just makes it efficient for people like you guys with a retail shop. You're able to kind of kill two birds with one stone in the same hall. And then we put some features in there. The overland feature was in there. So you really start to see this synergy that takes place. And I don't know if you had a chance to do any of it, but we took some of the education that pertained to truck or restyling and put it in that hall as well. So the thought process was you can kind of be self-sufficient in the West Hall if you're in that segment of the industry, and save some time and save some wear and tear on walking around a little bit.
For sure.
Totally. I buy new shoes to go. I buy 2 pairs of new shoes.
It really is insanely large. Yeah,
dude, I do it because I bought like those like Skechers, and I wore them smooth the first year I went.
It's terrible. The joke around SEMA is, how many pairs of shoes am I bringing? Because I bring a ton, because you never know what you're going to run into, whether it's going to be wet or hot or whatever.
Right.
But you have to have a plan for everything, and it's shoes and clothes and where you're going to eat, just because you're in the middle of this thing that you're so passionate about, and you'll forget to eat. Talking about Jeep stuff all day long, people will do that and barely eat or drink, and next thing you know, you're hungry and dehydrated. Right. So really, before you go, knowing all these things and planning all this stuff, and we teach people this at our exhibitor summit, but being able to plan all this stuff out and then have something you can sort of base what you're doing at the show on really helps set people up for success.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely important.
You mentioned that you do the draw. What, I'm just curious, do you use like software to do that, or because I'm picturing in my head like you have a big 3D model or something, and you're like moving people around, like like World War II with the big like map on the table.
It used to be done like that, with literally a map and a pencil and an eraser, but we're more advanced now. We do it on this computer program, but we have a public-facing version of it that's 15 minutes behind where we are in the room. So we're able to have people watch the show get filled. And if you're picking on a Tuesday, you can watch what happens all day Monday and going into where you pick. So by the time we get you on the phone to pick your spot, and in a typical year, we'll have somewhere between 2,000 and 2,200 exhibitors participating in this. We call them all one at a time, and they pick their space, so they can kind of watch the floor plan and go, okay, I've been watching what's going on. I want to see if this one and this one's available. And if it is, that's where we put them. And then they'll see it get updated 10, 15 minutes later. So that part of it is really interesting. But being able to watch the largest automotive event in the US come together like that and have it just be fully transparent is something that is exciting, because there's no curtain set up that we're working behind. It's all right there, right in front of everybody to see how it goes.
Yeah, I can attest to that too, because I did the same thing. The lady helped me on the phone. She goes, "Oh, this will be a better spot." I did get switched, because when you guys were talking about to massage the floor, I did get switched. I got switched once, so it wasn't too bad. But it's interesting, because I liked it, because I could zoom in and I could see who was near me. It was just like, there may or may not have been like a big deal, but it was just fun for me as a manufacturer to like see who was there and where I was, and and then get a better idea, because it was a new hall too. I didn't understand it. I didn't know it existed, because the last time we were there was 2018.
Yeah,
as buyers, right? So I was like, oh, this is cool. So I really do enjoy that. I like that feature quite a bit.
No, and I've spent way too much time in the West Hall just
Yeah.
trying to figure out traffic patterns. And members
Oh.
of the team here were doing that. So we would go to, like, there was a Barrett-Jackson auction, there was a volleyball tournament, there was concrete, a World of Concrete show.
Right.
So you go and you just look at traffic flow and you try to figure out how your floor plan is going to work.
Wow.
And to be able to predict where people were going to go and then see it come to life was rewarding, because we know that it's going to continue, and we really invest in these traffic patterns. So people kind of absorbed it and lived it as we went through the week.
Yeah, I guess that's really interesting. I guess I didn't think that far in depth, that, like, yeah, if you had the aisles the other way, like, or something like that, or you could just totally make a huge difference, right? And then someone, that's paying good hard-earned money to, like, have a show would have potentially less success with traffic, right? So that's cool. That's definitely interesting.
And some shows did the aisles the other way. So there was lots of times where we second guessed what we were doing, because the natural thing was to go a certain way. And we switched the whole thing 90 degrees and went the length, the long way. And it was a little bit of a gamble, but that's where having experts on the team with decades of experience kind of pays off. So it turned out to be right. And when you see people moving through it, it makes a lot more sense.
That's cool. That's awesome. Someone says sandals work fine.
No, they don't. You die hard deaths with sandals.
And
Maybe
Justin said 2021 was his first year. He had a blast. So
great.
There you go. Yeah. And back on the whole topic of whether or not we're going to let Ryan back. I don't know if you let people that like break into Jeeps on the.
Oh yeah, well that was their fault. I thought it was locked. I went to touch the handle because our friend made us some handle matters, and I opened it. I didn't even mean to. I just was like touching it. I thought it'd be locked. It's open. The alarm goes off. There's a bunch of nonsense. So we had to run. We ran to the Tesla station and
I was just gonna say I have to upload the video because it's so funny. Because literally, I was recording a video for social media, and it just happened, and you just see Ryan push everyone like right out of his way, like
wasn't me,
like right out, like Ryan first bolted, just gone, and we're just like, what? What is happening?
I couldn't have been the first one to do that.
Oh my god, it's hilarious. No, it happened later. Yeah, that Jeep, for whatever reason, he left it unlocked, but the his alarm on, and another time I had heard it go off as well, the alarm. So I guess just people. But speaking of that though, the Tesla, the what is it? The tunnel, the the boring company.
Yeah, the boring company is Elon Musk's company.
And was there any sort of is there any special consideration with that? Because I understand that's there all the time. Is that correct?
It is. So it's fascinating when you really get into how a convention center expands and what's going to happen in the rest of the city. So as they expanded into West Hall, they were trying to figure out how to get people from one side to the other, because now they've built this campus that's a mile from tip to tip. So they knew they needed some kind of a people mover. Mm-hmm. And then Elon Musk had this concept of being able to build these underground tunnels without having to go from the surface down. That you could dig a hole and then set a boring, like literally like a big drill bit through the ground. And it cut through everything. And they were able to do it for 20% of the cost in 20% of the time.
Wild.
So once they saw that, and that was the first practical use at a public facility, this convention center use of this tunnel. But now they're connecting to the local hotels. They're going to get connected to the Las Vegas Strip. And eventually it's going to get to the new football stadium they built and the airport. So they've essentially taken this underground tunnel concept, and it's going to go all through Las Vegas. And at the same time, they purchased the monorail, who had a 99-year non-compete on public transportation on a certain side of the Las Vegas Strip. So now, because they own both things, they're able to kind of open that back up and let the city do this expansion. So we're sitting there going, okay, how are we going to use West Hall? And then having conversations where they say, oh, wait till you see 10 years from now, you're going to be able to get from the airport to your hotel in this thing and then go to the show that way. Man. It's really cool.
Yeah.
So Vegas is a great partner. You know, you can say what you want about the city in terms of all the things that they have to offer. There's great food, there's great places to meet. There's just so much to do, but they really do have a great master plan on how they can make people's experience world class. And the airport being upgraded and this tunnel system, people don't notice. They just kind of fly in, and you see the slot machines in the airport, and you go, okay, this is so typical Vegas. But behind the scenes, like, there's so much thought that goes into it to make the user experience really good. So it's great to partner with them and have an event at the scale which ours is, because we both succeed off each other.
Right.
Yeah, it's amazing. Are you located in Vegas?
No, but I we joke about Ryan having his sleeping in his store the first couple of years. They literally at one point were like, okay, we need an office for some of you SEMA guys because you're just here all the time. We really needed to educate ourselves on these traffic patterns and what the building was going to be like. So there got to be a point where I could give a tour of the West Hall better than some of the Las Vegas Convention Center employees. And I'm not saying that out of school. They were telling people, like, we really should be paying you here. So, but that's fun. Yeah.
That's good.
That's amazing. Very cool. How long have you been with SEMA? You mentioned you did other automotive events.
Yeah. So I've been with SEMA for now, I think 11 years or going on 11 years. But I've been lucky. I've done automotive events my whole career in events. So I did 10 years doing auto shows. And then I spent a little bit of time in your guys' arena specific to Jeep, where I was producing the Off-Road Expo for a number of years.
Oh, cool.
And helped put that event in some other cities too. So I've been lucky for 25 years to be able to do automotive events. And it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun, actually. It sounds like a lot of work, though. I think people don't
appreciate it. Really,
yeah,
right?
I think they don't appreciate it, and just as an exhibitor, it's so much work. I appreciate
it more as an exhibitor than I did as a buyer, because like all the steps and all the crazy stuff, like just like someone had to think up all these things, right? Like, wow, it's crazy, right? Whereas when you're coming to buy, it's a little easier, right? You just kind of hang out.
But we try to help.
I went in and out. But
your company's perfect because you've done 1 year, you have that under your belt. But we have this event in July that we call the Exhibitor Summit, where we try to teach exhibitors, especially new exhibitors, how to be successful at the show and what buyers are looking for, where they go, how they act, and share some of our survey data. And then really introduce you to all these stakeholders, the people at like Freeman, our hotel partner, really anybody that you would order any product or service from at the show is at this thing, and you get to know them personally. So literally by the end of it, this podcast, you'll be able to say, hey, I know Tom G. So when you're picking your space and you have questions, I'm in the room. But now I'm going to use it. If you go to this event, it's like, hey, I met that guy at the Exhibitor Summit. He'll be able to help me. And it's really designed for the newer companies, because we found that if we can help them be successful, they're going to get the ROI they want. And then they're going to become this evangelist for us, sort of like you are, where you're saying, hey, I had a great show and I know this guy's thinking about coming because I know from my experience he'll do well. That's the type of thing that we really try to capture and build upon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, word of mouth, right? In so many words, for sure. Because you can watch an advertisement or something like that, or read something in a magazine or on a web forum, but if someone real tells you this is real, there's no better way to do it.
Yeah.
And experience, right? I mean, being the best at something. I mean, clearly SEMA, everyone that I know that is into cars, doesn't matter. We have on the other side, we have a marketing agency, and we have some, different OEMs and what have you. So, and they cover the entire gamut, right? So this one particular company is really into high-end, very expensive, tuner type cars. And I'm telling you, when our client came back from SEMA, he was just like, dude, you got to go. You just have to go. If you appreciate cars, it's the best place on earth. Forget about vending, anything like that. You just have to go. Now, that being said, though, we should probably bring up that it's not open to the public, however, right? Now that we've said how amazing it is.
Yeah, you guys are so good. You can't come. Sorry.
Right.
It is a business-to-business event, and really it's this opportunity for a bunch of different aspects of the industry to come together and circle their wagons and figure out what the next 3 to 5 year trajectory is. But we do have these opportunities available for the general public where they can go to our SEMA Ignited event. They can attend the SEMA Cruise, which is the parade of vehicles that leaves the building on Friday. There's 1,100 cars that participate in that. And then we also have this Friday experience ticket where you can do it through the SEMA Ignited website. And that gets you an opportunity to go to the SEMA show on Friday. And it's a limited number of people, but there's that opportunity to do that. So
they
if
stole
it is
my
on your
candy
bucket
bars.
list,
I was gonna say, weren't you complaining about
They're
that?
like, oh, this guy's not a buyer, but he ate like 4 Kit Kats.
well, so you went good. The Kit Kats are good.
Yeah, I know.
Maybe on Friday you switch to just mints or something. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. That's the ticket. Yeah,
go.
save yourself a couple bucks. Just put those really bad Asian mints out.
That's right.
But the clear thing about this whole thing, though, there is such tremendous business value, and you can't lose sight of that, because if you go without a plan or you go and you're just kind of winging it, you're not going to get the return that you'd hope for. And I like to think that we're letting the exhibitors show the buyers what the future's like. And I'll share a quick story where I was in Albuquerque, New Mexico, producing an auto show. And I was talking to a guy who had an off-road Jeep shop. And we were trying to have him in the show because it's just a nice compliment to the new cars. And he explained to me that he'd been to the LA Auto Show and goes every couple of years, and they have a big parts area. I said, why do you go to the LA show? He said, because that's what I'm going to be selling in 2 years in my shop in Albuquerque, because that's how long it takes for people to adopt it here in my marketplace. So that's the type of inside stuff you're going to get at the show, where you can see these new products in the new product showcase, or these products that are on these brand new Jeep builds. And you go, okay, I may not be selling these yet because my customers don't know they need them. But if I buy them now and show them how cool they are, and Ryan, you talked about knowing the quality because you're talking to the engineers or whatever. Now you can bring these things to your customer base, and they think you're on the inside track. So that's really the benefit. There's this tremendous business value that we like to just build the environment and let it happen.
That's very cool.
Amazing. A question for you. So you've been doing SEMA for a number of years. What is the craziest exhibit you've seen so far? Have you? Because I know some of them are pretty normal, but some are pretty over the top.
So I would say it comes down to, there was an activation one year that was done by Kia, and they did it in an area that we used to move the show in. So we went to them over the summer, and we had a ton of meetings in parking lots in Las Vegas in August and September when it's like 110 degrees,
Right?
which is awesome.
Right.
But we had this plan between Monday night and Tuesday morning. They were going to build an off-road track for their new utility vehicle. And some of the people operationally looked at it and said, there's no way you're going to be able to bring all that dirt in here. If you bring a truck full of dirt, they brought in like 15,000 yards of dirt or something. If you bring a truck and it takes 8 minutes to unload, and the guy said, oh no, we're not going to, you're right, we won't be able to do it that way. I have 100 trucks already loaded with dirt that are double dump. So we're going to bring basically 200 trucks in here in a matter of 2 hours, and they're going to dump all this dirt. And then I've got this professional builder that builds tracks for motocross events. He's going to have the Bobcat and the bulldozers, and we're going to shape this track. So between Monday at 6 o'clock and Tuesday morning at 9 o'clock, they built this phenomenal dirt track, and we're taking these cars over it Tuesday morning to the public and for the people that attended the show. So I'd say that was probably the quickest, but they're all cool. You know, you get down to some of the cars that are in the Toyo Tread Pass, or some of the cool things that Ford does in Ford Out Front, or Hoonigan's doing in their burn yard.
Yeah.
There's so many cool things, but I'm an operations nerd, so seeing that whole environment get built in like 15 hours was pretty awesome.
That's awesome. Do you ever get to meet like Ken Block? Do you ever have any opportunity to hang out with those guys?
Yeah, and I'm kind of an introvert too, which is why I'm probably in operations and not like sales or promotion.
Right.
But I know these guys a little bit, and there was a year where somebody asked if they could kind of follow me around and learn the industry or whatever, and it was a 19-year-old kid that was going to graduate high school, and he couldn't decide if he wanted to go into like a trade school or if he was going to go into college and study some kind of automotive engineering type of thing. So I brought him around, and he'd be like, "Oh my God, there's so and so," and I'm like, "You want to meet him?" And I didn't even necessarily know him, but if I walk in and go, "Hey, I'm
Tom G."
Yeah, I'm Tom G. I'm kind of a big deal. And then I'd introduce this 19-year-old kid who just was so like in the zone on automotive and knew all about the build and had followed him on social media. That's where it gets exciting.
That's
for
magical,
me.
Man.
Yeah, it's great to be able to make the introductions and make the connections, because really that's all we're doing is connecting people and having these conversations happen. And I am just like a big conversation facilitator. We build the environment that it happens. And if I can know somebody and put two and two together, I like to do that and let the magic happen.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So did he go on to follow in your footsteps, or is he a race car driver?
No. So he went to a tech school and started to learn welding. So that's cool.
Yeah, that's a good skill.
Yeah, and he wants to work in the automotive industry, and figured that was a way to really be part of design and creation. So we'll see how it goes. He's 2 or 3 years into that, but doing well.
Right.
Amazing. All right, cool. So what are we looking at for the 2022 show? Any crazy insights you can share with us? Spoiler alerts or anything?
So we're looking at a lot of the stuff right now from a feature basis that's outside, and I can say that a lot of that stuff is going to expand. So we're having preliminary conversations with Optima and Hoonigan and Ford and Stellantis and GM, Toyota. So we know there's going to be some change there. It's probably a little early to figure it out because we still have to do our space draw and figure out where all the pieces go. But I can tell you that what we're seeing right now is the features are going to be elevated to a point that we really haven't seen in a long, long time, and the engagement that happens at the show is off the charts right now. So that part of it, I can promise, is going to be probably the best we've ever had, because people's, it's kind of like your podcast. Set your expectations low and grab a couple of beverages
right.
and go.
Yeah. Right.
People's expectations for events during COVID were sort of the same way. And we spent so much time trying to build the perfect environment that they came in 2021 and were like, oh man, there was a lot of FOMO,
Right.
So 22 is going to just kind of capitalize on that, because you've got these people who missed 21 and are going to want to see it, and all these other companies that know what's going to happen, and they're going to magnify what they're doing. So the exhibitors have been there, and Ryan, I don't know from your perspective with combat, but they go, okay, this is what happened last year. I need to up my game. You do that 1,800 times, and the show gets exponentially better.
Oh, sure. Yeah. That's it should be good. Yeah. Like world implosion. If the world doesn't implode, we're going to have a great show.
Actually, it's funny because that was going to be one of my next questions. I was just going to say, first of all, I've been around forever. I'm old, so I remember though the pre 2007. I used to go to on the dealer side events, and I remember that they were just huge. You go to any of the car shows, they were insane, the amount of money and resources that were put into it. And then I feel like it's been quite some time since that magic, if you will, has been really, because it's just been one thing after another, right? The recession, and then whatever the case may be. So Is it? Are you thinking that sort of like we're kind of coming back to maybe back then, or not quite?
Yeah, so we're on the road to coming back. I don't know that we're quite there. You know, we're like '07 or 2018, but we're on our way back to that. The cool thing about being able to manage this trade show and start to strategically figure out where it's going is we're working years out. It probably won't surprise you after talking to me for this half hour or whatever, but I'm already doing things for the 2025 event. So we're constantly working 2 and 3 years ahead. So Paul, to answer your question, I don't know that we're going to be quite back to where we were, but we're on that path to get there. And we've invested in the traffic pattern. So even though the show could fit in the 4 buildings that we used to have it in, we decided we were going to use West Hall because it was new and it was cool. And, you know, you got to do the new cool stuff.
Right.
So now we're built. So when we do get back to full strength, we'll have established the traffic pattern. People will know where everything is and they won't have to reinvent it and go, okay, now we're back to full strength. Where's the truck hall? They're going to know because it'll be the second or third year that it's been in that place. So that's really, again, behind the scenes, what we were thinking was, how can we invest during the COVID year when the expectations were low and outperform those expectations, and then be built so as things really come online, we're able to handle everything and the user experience is still at that really, really high level.
Amazing. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. It's smart for sure. And that it probably speaks to why SEMA is such a success, right? It's not just, oh, hey, we got a show in a month. We better do something.
Draw some names.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. So I think that makes a lot of sense. And so speaking of that, looking out, and especially as Ryan mentioned, to what's sort of happening, you know, geopolitically around the world, do you see a lot of people now like doubling down on electric? Like, is it just really, really moving towards like electric, or do you still see a healthy mix of you know, good old fashioned gasoline?
Yeah, there's a really healthy mix, and we're watching it very closely. We have a SEMA electrified area at the show that's doubled in size essentially every year we do it. But we're watching close what vehicle sales are doing and what percentage of vehicles are electric, and looking out into 2030 to see if you keep going at this pace, how many cars on the road will be electric. And that's a given number, say 35%. So you're looking in 10 years from now, 8 years from now, that 65% of the cars on the road are still internal combustion engine cars and 35 are electric. And it really is going to come down to the marketplace. So what the vehicle manufacturers sell as new is going to be driven by demand from customers. And as more and more electric vehicles get built and purchased, then they're going to demand the products that are going to go on there. So we reflect the marketplace to a certain extent. I just can't wave a magic wand and go, okay, we're electric now. The whole show is all electric.
Right. Thank God for that, though.
Yeah.
No thanks.
And I think that when you look at it, there's so many things with electric in general that need to be figured out, where how can we have an electrical grid in these neighborhoods to power all these cars?
Oh, yeah.
So eventually that may get figured out, or there may be some hydrogen alternative.
Hydrogen, yeah.
And I'm really proud of the automotive industry because gas cars are getting more and more economical too. So we're having all these really smart minds come together and create these solutions, and it manifests itself at the show. So listen, at the core, all we're doing is building an environment where this stuff can happen. But the industry is going, okay, here's all the innovation. Here's where we think it's going for the next 3 or 5 years. And I'm going to share this with the retailers. Now you've got that thing where 1 + 1 = 3, and everybody comes together and says, I like that and I like that. Can we combine it? And then the next year there's another new product. So we never stop innovating, and that I think is part of the excitement of it.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense for sure. Yeah, it's very interesting. Especially the mirroring of the market itself, right? So that's awesome. So what are the dates for this year, the 2022 show?
So this year it's November 1st to 4th, but just the first week of November, really. If you're
I see. It's always the first week in November.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair
yeah,
enough.
it's either like, I think the earliest we go is October 30th to November 2nd, but this year it's November 1 through 4. And we do stuff, there's some stuff before, like on October 31st, we'll have education start, and education runs throughout the week. And then on the end of it, we do our SEMA cruise and SEMA Ignited. So it's really a full week of automotive celebration. I like to think of it as an industry homecoming that's second to none. And we rarely brag about how well we do or how big we are, but we're proud this year in 2021 anyway that we were the largest trade show to happen in North America. And it really wasn't anything more than in-person events are really important to all industries.
Oh, sure.
And we were positioned to be able to have a great event with a lot of passionate people that wanted to support it. We knew we could produce it safely, and we wanted to kind of show Las Vegas and the trade show industry and our industry that you can have public gatherings that are safe and people really get a lot of value. So other shows have come and gone after us, and we're still learning from them. So, if you look at, again, from the behind the scenes aspect, every show that happens in Vegas, everybody's watching what everyone else is doing, and we're all kind of cheering for each other. So as our event happened, I started to root for the next ones that came in December and then January, because it really is going to help us all bring this business back as quick as we can.
Yeah, no, it totally makes sense.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. I mean, it just really is it's really a great location in general to have it, I think.
Yeah, where else could you even have it? I mean, not like you're going to move, but I mean, where else would there even be that would make sense?
Yeah,
the venue is so crazy, right? Like,
just don't tell Las Vegas that.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah,
that's right.
We're still negotiating here.
We watched that
exactly,
podcast. We got up the rates. You guys have nowhere to go.
Exactly.
No, the best part though is we have our roots. SEMA's roots are really in Southern California and drag racing, and that's where the NHRA museum is. And we've got this core of the show that our very first show was in Dodger Stadium, like literally underneath the grandstands. There's this ring of where you would go in order to go into your seat. And there was 100 exhibitors and 3,000 buyers attended that event. Wow. So our roots are in Southern California. We spent the next 9 years in Anaheim, and now we've been in Vegas for 45 years. So it feels like we're part of the fabric of that city, but it's a great place, and it's a great region to have the show, because weather usually works out pretty good, and there's there's always good stories. Ryan, you said you made coming to the event a 6-day ordeal, and you got some wheeling in Moab, and you met some Jeep clubs and stuff. That's the type of stuff that really is electric, where you hear these stories and go, oh, that was cool. And
that was a whole adventure, man. Like, the whole thing was an adventure all the way. Yeah.
And everybody remembers the adventure. They always remember their first SEMA show. To be part of something like that, and really, my team is really the magic. I am just the lucky person that's sort of in the middle of it, but to be part of something like that is just awesome.
Amazing.
Yeah, totally. I could see that. Yeah, it's really cool, man.
All right. Well, if somebody wants to be an exhibitor or attend, where's the best place for them to go and learn more?
So we have a website, semashow.com, and you can either go there or you can go to SEMA.org, which you can teach about our association. But really, it's one-stop shopping. Go to either one of those websites, and we've got all the info there. Or if you follow us on any of our social media channels on, Instagram or TikTok or whatever, will eventually get you to a place where you can learn about either exhibiting or attending at any of those outlets as well.
Amazing. Okay, cool. Well, I only have one more question, and I'm just curious. So you've been doing it for 10 years. Has there anything ever happened that was completely sort of unexpected, like curveball? And I just assume, just because the nature of the show, I mean, you have to deal with things in real time all the time. So I'm just curious, has there been anything like absolutely crazy that you just had to deal with and move on? I mean, other than a pandemic.
Yeah.
Other than that,
Yeah.
We have had some interesting things that happen that you just wouldn't expect. And, a lot of once we get everything built, a lot of my team is focused on making sure everybody is safe. And I'll say that we've had shows. We were one of the first citywide events in Las Vegas after 9/11. We were one of the first events that really kind of took off after the recession in the 08-09 timeframe. Under my watch, 30 days before our 2017 event, we had the terrible tragedy of the shooter at the Mandalay Bay.
Right, yeah.
Right.
So that was 30 days before our
Wow.
show. So if you can imagine, we really went into this mode that we're prepared for, but we went into this mode of preparation and planning and changing kind of the entrance and exit of the show. And in order to streamline everything, we picked one point person to handle all the questions because we knew we were going to get questions from exhibitors and buyers. And I'm going to say that I was the lucky person to be the pick for that. And it was energizing for me because I talked to people who were scared to come to the city, and they were scared to go to Las Vegas. And after a 15 or 20-minute conversation, to know that there was a person behind our security plan, that we had planned things out, that there were things they weren't going to know about that existed, that we had thought through, the anxiety level went down. So that was a pretty good curveball, I would say, that we learned a lot from, but was really rewarding when we finished it. And you get through the show, and you kind of go, okay, that really is going to help us learn. And to this day, we're still instituting the things we learned from that. And you watch what happened at that event, and being a frequent resident of Las Vegas, we'll call it. I knew people that were at that event. I know people on a second-hand basis that died at that event.
Oh, no.
And you just kind of go, okay, there has to be something that we can all learn from and make permanent. And that's really what we've done. So when you look at the SEMA show, this will be the 55th show. There are little elements from every one of them that's built into where we are now. And we continue just to evolve it and improve it so that it's the best show that you go to.
Amazing. Yeah.
Amazing. The
Amazing.
55 years of
55
it. Wow.
years. That's amazing in itself.
Are you counting the 2020 that you didn't get to do?
No, you don't count that one.
There you go. So there you go.
That's amazing. Right on. Well, awesome. Tom, I really appreciate you being on, man. And really learned a lot about the show. And for anyone who made it this far, thank you very much. It was it's great. I think I personally had just an amazing time the first time going. We'll definitely be back in 2022. I know Combat's going to be there.
Yeah, we'll be there. Totally
we'll be there. So it's if you're in the industry and whether on the exhibitor side or the buyer side, it really is worth the trip. There's no question.
Totally worth it.
Yeah, it's worth it just to cruise around and check out all the exhibitors.
Even if you just drink and walk around and look at cool stuff, just don't touch anything.
Yeah, but you got to drink like Red Bull because you need the energy, right? So
So
Totally.
one thing we're doing new this year is we're going to have a little podcast area, so you guys won't have to be in the drift
perfect.
smoke
That's
and all that
amazing.
noise.
That's
We'll set a little area
amazing.
aside that you can go to, but hook up with our team that you did for this. But it's going to be great because you'll be able to have something that's a little purpose built, has a nice backdrop, and you can do
That's cool.
a quick hit and let everybody see what's going on.
I need throat lozenges after that one.
Right. I haven't ever gone back and watched it, but I can only imagine because I think we were both just screaming at the top of our lungs.
It's the best time ever.
And then cruising around. I don't remember if I had my phone or if I had my computer I was walking with. I don't even remember, but I know I was walking around with
your bag and your laptop, and we walked away for like 5 minutes. I'm like,
that's right. And then you were like, I was like, oh yeah, like, oh, that's right. My computer was in the bag, just left.
Nobody took it, so that was cool.
There was that. Yeah.
I was trying to figure out where you guys were, and then there was a point where you were almost next to each other. I'm like, wait a second, they were close to each other.
Yes.
We
moved at the very beginning. We were. I was right beside him.
Well, we had my
Jeep, and he was
our
at the
Jeep,
back of
like the combat Jeep we brought. The SEMA was right in front of Central, like right at the Ford. Right, so the right Central Hall is right in front of the Ford track. So we kind of like he was on the tire, and I was on the back because we didn't want our sound to like cross over or something. Was that the problem?
Right.
I can't remember. But
yeah, we didn't want any feedback. But then.
So, at some point we were right there.
Yeah.
But then Paul made it all the way up to Mickey Thompson.
Like, yes.
He's trucking because
I was like,
that's far. And Ryan looked like he was lost. He's just like, I'm
like looking for Paul. I can't hear you anymore.
Yeah.
God, and I didn't want to leave because he had his bag. That was what it was.
Yeah.
I left for a minute and I came back. I'm like, oh, it's your bag's there. But yeah, it worked out. It's entertaining.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was fun for us.
Yeah, Tom. Again, thanks so much for taking the time. It was really good. I really appreciated everything, and we both appreciate it. And thanks for putting in all that effort.
Yeah,
don't charge me any more money though.
There you go. And again, make sure to follow semashow.com or check them out on all the socials. And again, hit that like button and be sure to subscribe, all that fun stuff. So just remember, if you are going to SEMA, just say Tom G sent you. And
I'm kind of a big deal.
That's right. All right. Well, thanks again, Tom.
Yeah. All right.
Thanks,
Thank you guys.
Appreciate it.
Thanks everyone for watching.
Care, guys.
We will see you next week.